So a while ago I decided I was going to build yet another electric skateboard, except this time it would be specifically designed for off-road use. And that turned out to be very tricky. But it's now about 2 months later and it's finally done. Now, the way this project is different from the other electric skateboard, and actually any other electric vehicle that I've shown you on this channel before, is the fact that this time it was built completely from scratch. So with the other electric skateboard, the skateboard already existed, I just electrified it. The same thing goes for my bicycle, right? The bike already existed, I just made it electric. This time, I'd be building the entire skateboard from scratch, which is perhaps the reason it was so tricky. The good thing about that, however, is that it allows you to customize the entire thing exactly to your needs. So in that sense, it's kind of good, but it's mostly just tricky. So now let's just take a closer look at our new electric skateboard. So for the drivetrain, we're using an electric bike motor, which is driving the rear axle using a timing belt. Now the reason I'm using this electric bike motor is because that bike motor is a hub motor, so it's normally placed in the center of a bike wheel, which is why it's designed to operate at very low speeds but produce very large amounts of torque, right? You can imagine if you have a motor sitting in the center of a wheel trying to turn that wheel, but the bike wheel's quite big, the motor needs to be very strong to do that. So it's got gears inside it to make it ridiculously strong. Now what I'm doing is I'm not using that in a big bike wheel, I'm using it to drive my tiny little skateboard wheels, which results in a very, very strong skateboard that has lots of torque, which is exactly what I need to propel me through rough terrain. Now speaking of those small wheels, they were a very difficult part of this project, because getting off-road wheels for a skateboard is more difficult than you think, if you don't have all the money in the world at least. Because actual official off-road skateboarding wheels, which are a thing and actually exist, are ridiculously expensive. Which leaves you with a bunch of other options, but those wheels are often way too big, or they don't have off-road tyres on them, so they're not suitable for this project. So what I ended up doing was buying wheels that are intended to be used on a radio-controlled car. But of course they have one big drawback, which is that radio-controlled car wheels are very soft. They have an air tyre on them, but the tyre doesn't have a valve, you can't pump it up, it's just a soft tyre that you can squeeze like this. Which is fine if you're using them on a radio-controlled car that weighs 5 kilograms, but it's not fine if you want to stand on top of them because it's a skateboard. So what I ended up doing is filling up the tyres with this. I ended up filling the tyres with this stuffing material, which is the kind of stuff you can put in like a pillow, right? So I just put lots of this stuff in the tyres to basically turn them into solid tyres, and now they can actually carry my weight. Now for the electronics, we're not using anything special really, it's just basically an exact copy of the electronics that I use on any other electric vehicle. It's an Arduino, an ESC, and then a lithium-ion battery powering the whole thing. Now it's a 24-volt battery with a capacity of 12 amp hours, and on that battery the skateboard can do about 10 kilometers, which is not very good, right? Because the other electric skateboard, the smaller one, has a 5 amp hour battery, so it's less than half the size, and it can also do about 10 kilometers on a single charge. So the smaller electric skateboard is far more efficient because it's very light, but primarily because it has very hard tires, or wheels rather, that roll very smoothly on tarmac, whereas the off-road skateboard has these kind of soft rubbery tires, it's way bulkier, so it's just using way more energy. So that's the new electric skateboard in a nutshell. Now, of course, I could show you some footage of the skateboard doing exactly what it's designed for. I mean, here it is, right? It works perfectly fine. But I was thinking to myself, that doesn't really make for a very interesting video, because generally speaking, people don't want to see a machine doing precisely what it's designed for. people want to see something being torture tested, being maxed out, right? So I've come up with a bit of a test. Right, so I know it's not a particularly big car, but we have to start small. So let's get the skateboard and get it attached to the vehicle. Right, so as you can see, the skateboard is attached to the car. So now the only thing that's left to do is to get on the skateboard and see if we can tow the car with it. Right. So it works, that's the good news. You never know with these inventions, right, if they even work in the first place. All right, let's do it. Oh, come on! Right, let's get a little bit of a longer run up. Maybe that'll do it. Seems like I don't have enough traction. Okay, so second attempt. This time we're not going to attach the rope to the skateboard itself, but I'm just going to hold it, because I suspect that the rope was actually lifting up the back of the skateboard, giving me less traction, giving me that wheel spin, which is why I couldn't tow the car. So this time I'm just going to hold the rope like this and try to tow it by hand. Right, here we go. Okay, let's try again. Give myself a little bit more of a run up. Oh boy, one of my wheels is actually coming off. All right, so we've just been home to fix the wheel that came off. So we've reattached it, which means we're ready to try again. Now this time, I'm going to use a slightly different strategy from before. So first of all, I'm going to give myself just a little bit more rope length, so I have a little bit more of a run up. And also, I'm no longer going to be cautious with the throttle, so I'm just going to basically absolutely gun it and hope for the best. All right then. Here we go. It's definitely moving. Oh, the skateboard definitely doesn't like this. Come on. Oh boy, did I torture this machine. But that did actually move, which means, yes, the skateboard can actually tow a car, although not at very high speed. I really hope you've enjoyed watching this video. And of course, thank you for watching.